Okay, hello everyone. We are now on the chapter 3, right? Our previous discussions deals with research methodology. Now let's have to continue to the most important part of the research, which is the statement of the problem. Many said that statement of the problem is the hardest part of the research process. Yes, it is true if you don't know about your topic at all. But I have said before, choose a topic wherein you are interested with. You are inclined for that particular topic. Okay? So let us have to discuss this morning about the statement of the problems. The research questions, kumbaga. So sa research questions, it depends on the type of research study. So if your study are experimental, if your study are descriptive or correlational, there are particular research questions that you must have to formulate. So SOP is very important as it sets the directions as to where your study will go. So this is the one that will put you on the right track. Andyan ka pa ba? Or insakto ba ang process na pina-follow mo? So, statement of the problem, state what you wanted to accomplish or achieve in your study. So that is why your tools or questionnaires should be based on how you formulate your statement of your problem. The statement of the problem is the questions should always be relevant to your topic. Dili kung bisan unsa ra nga questions, dili pwede kung pataka ra ka og himog questions as long as it is a question. It is not like that. As I have said, you must have to look for the blind spot for that particular study. So sa statement of the problem, there are two parts, which is the general problem and the specific problem. So in general problem, this is an opening of your statement of the problem. If you have noticed, if you read some research output, nakabase ang general problem sa research title. You just have to restate the problem that covers your study. In my example, my study entitled Change Management and Employees' Performance Among Selected Micro and Small-Scale Businesses in MAASIN City, Southern Leyte. So my general problem, as my opening statement, it said like this. This study aimed to determine the level of change management and the level of employees' performance among the selected micro and small-scale businesses in MAASIN City, Southern Leyte in 2019. As you have noticed that there is a year when you will be conducting your study. So, nakita nyo sa example ko that my opening statement, naka-anchor siya sa research title ko. Okay? Now, let's go to the specific problems. There are two types of research questions. Mingon ka nga, non-researchable questions are those questions that has a value and is answerable by yes or no. Example, if your questions state like this, do all grade 12 students study their lesson before taking their major examinations? So it is answerable by yes or no. Or should senior high school students taking ABM be good in accounting? As you have noticed that the questions or the specific problems are stated in a question form. So just remember that one. So, researchable questions. These are questions of value, opinions, or policy raised to gather data. So, kaning mga who, what, when, why, and how. This is the research questions involved. So example, what is the profile of of the respondents in terms of age, civil status. So this is involved a question form. What is the level of manifestation of change as perceived by the respondents in the areas of communication, leadership, procedural justice, employees development, and tolerance to change? So it is in a question form. Then, number two, another example based on my study, change management and employees' performance. What is the level of employees' performance in the workplace? And now there is an hypothetical question. Is there a significant relationship between the level of change management and the level of employees' performance? You wanted to discover, you wanted to know if there is a relationship with the performance and the level of change management as to the different variable I have stated. Katong communication, leadership, procedural justice, employees development, and tolerance to change. Another is that, is there a significant difference between the level of manifestations of change management when grouped according to top management and lower management? So naka-base to with my respondents because on this particular study, my respondents are those participants that belongs to the top management and the lower management, and I wanted to know if there is a difference when it comes to their level of manifestations. Kung mas diferensya ba ang perceptions, diferensya ba ang acceptance sa top management as compared to those who belongs to the lower management. So this is somewhat like a questions that is hypothetical in the sense that I wanted to discover if there is a difference when it comes to the level of manifestations with regards to the implementations of change management. Okay? And what are the factors that can improve or deteriorate change management and employees' performance? In this particular questions, it is somewhat like a qualitative questions wherein you wanted to discover how you wanted to, what are the other factors that can improve or deteriorate change management through the process of interview. And now, the last one is what proposal for improvement can be designed based on the findings of the study. This is now the output. So as you have noticed, the questions are all in the questions forms, considering the fact that this particular study is a combination of a quantitative and a qualitative study. So, diba? It is just very easy. How come that I easily formulate these particular questions? Because I focus reading on the related review of literature on the study about change management. Okay? Now, these are now the complete example of my SOP, where this is composed of a general problem and the specific problem. For the title, Change Management and Employees' Performance Among Selected Micro and Small-Scale Businesses in MAASIN City, Southern Leyte. As you have noticed, di ba, ang opening statement ko, this study aimed to determine the level of change management and the level of employees' performance among the selected micro and small-scale businesses in MAASIN City, Southern Leyte in 2019. The findings of which were made as basis for proposal for improvement. Specifically, this investigation seeks to answer the following questions. So yun yung mga specific problems ko, yung example binanggit ko kanina. Okay? Ito, 6 na statement of the problem. As I have said, mas madali kung na-formulate ang question na to just because I keep on reading on the different literature, different study that is relevant to change management. So that is why, as a matter of advice before, na continue reading with the related review of literature so that you will be able to determine what are the blind spots on that particular study. Ba? Mas madali, ra? Okay. Now, how are you going to compose your research instrument. Okay? Research instrument, first of all, you need to write the introductory statement, discuss the content of the instrument, each part on how it was created and organized, include the Likert scale as well as the response category and the validations. You need to narrate the process on how you validate your instrument. So it is very important that your instrument or your tool is checked by the expert and validated so that it is easy for the respondents or the participants to answer your questions. That is very important so that you will be able to discover and to collect the correct information that you are needed for your research. Di basta-basta nga you have to compose an instrument bahala nagnakasumpaki kay basin og di masabtan sa mga respondents, sa mga participants, then what will happen? Nakuha nimo ang information nga dili mao ang imong gipangita. So why lami ang resulta sa imong research? So that is why it is very important that you will have to conclude or you must have to validate your research instrument before you have to finalize. Okay, I will give you the example. This is on my study. The study utilized a researcher-made tool patterned after Fong, Thing, Hu, Yang, and So in 2011. Questions were modified and improved to contextualize the change management and subject to validity. So in this particular statement, I have stated that my questionnaire is patterned after the questionnaires or after the researcher Fong, Teng, Hu, Yang, and So. I just modify it so that I may be able to contextualize the tenor of the questionnaire to change management as my study. And therefore, it is subject to validity if that particular tools or questionnaires are somewhat like acceptable on the part of the respondents. Mas madali ba nilang masabdan? Mas okay ba nila on how you compose on that particular question so that, as I have said, you will be able to collect informations na gikinahanglan sa imong study. Okay? So it is very important kung gi-pattern ba nimo, you need to specify this animo gi-pattern or pwede man og mugamit kag questionnaires nga standard, but you need to specify who is the author of that particular questionnaire. But if you modify that particular questionnaires, still you need to mention it. Karon di ka makakihaan o plagiarism. Diba? Bantay ka. So, continue. Part 1, so it means to say that as I have composed my questionnaire, I describe it in the research instrument portion part of the research methodology. So the part 1, which contains 5 items for each of the 5 variables, which includes communication, leadership, procedural justice, employees, development, and tolerance to change. Na-notice ninyo sa statement of the problem na nga naakoy 5 ka variables. So therefore, for each variable sa communications, leadership, until tolerance to change, naakoy 5 ka items. As you have noticed, 25 sa tanan, they have an equal number of questions for each variables. Kinahanglang equal siya. So, the respondents were given the choices of 1 to 4 scale where, so you need to reflect your scale. The index, which is 1 to 4, the parameter limits, the response category, and the descriptive equivalent. Okay? So that is very important that you need to describe correctly so that you already have an idea kung di ba taas ra imong gipangutana, tama ra ba kaha ang maong pangutana para makuha na ang eksaktong resulta sa ahong research study. Okay? So part 1, which is nakabasis sa research question or SOP number 1. So So meaning to say that all your questions are based on your statement of the problem. Part 1 meaning the statement of the problem number 1. Okay, na-notice ninyo diya, makita na to ang 5 ka variables. Part 2. Part 2 has 5 items which focus on the effect of employees' performance in the workplace. Diba? Nakabutang dito sa our statement of the problem number 2. What is the level of employees' performance in the workplace? So, I have to compose questions so that I will be able to identify the level of performance of the employees in the workplace, wherein naghapon ko'y upat ka Likert scale 1 to 4 with parameter limits the same, the response category and the descriptive equivalent. Diba? Okay. So, part 3, unsa man tong pangutan sa part 3 is there is there a significant relationship? So there's no need to compose for that particular questions because we will have to discover if there is a significant relationship between the level of change management ubo ko as in kay igang there's no need for you to compose the questions for now, number 3 is there a significant relationship between the level of change management and the level of employees' performance because it can be identified already if there is a significant relationship based on your findings of the study. Makita na to dito sa statistics. So, largo to sa part 3 of my questionnaires is kaning number 5. What are the factors that can improve or deteriorate change management and employees' performance? So in my part 3 is an interview guide questionnaire that will answer the information sought by the researcher regarding other factors that can improve or deteriorate change management and employees' performance. Na kay mga interview dito nga part sa imong kanang tool in order that you'll be able to discover the different factors that can improve or deteriorate. So this makes this study qualitative. So ang una first, quantitative or qualitative, therefore nahimo na isang combinations of qualitative and quantitative study. Okay, so I have to add additional paragraph. Since it is declared as a researcher-made questionnaire, it shall be subjected to content validity test and reliability test using COBAC Alpha with a minimum score of 170. So, ang statistician na nimo mo determine niya na. The dry run procedure, meaning to say the pilot testing. The dry run procedure was to be conducted in MAASIN, in a company in MAASIN, Southern LEYTE, whose nature of business were marketing and home appliances, motorcycles, and furniture products through installment. The content validity test shall be carried out by those experts like in the field like in the human resource management or those teaching organizational behavior. So, ang change management man could is a study more about the acceptance or how the employee accept change and how the employee deal with the change. So that is why I choose an expert that is a human resource because they know how they study or they're expert about the human behavior, diba? So, kamo pod, pag-conduct sa dry run or the pilot testing, you must have to identify saan mo i-conduct yung pilot testing mo and what are the particular company na babagay ba sa study mo. Ang study ko is the change management, the acceptance of change management and employees' performance on the small and the micro. O pwede ba sa mga company na mga home appliances or a marketing company. So that is why i-validate yan ni human resource kung or expert kung tama ba ang pinili mo na doon ka mag-conduct ng pilot testing. So it's just very easy to compose the instrument because as I have related in my example, I just only describe the different parts of my tools as a guide. Ba? Guide na ito na ang tools nga unsa ko na pag-compose sa akong research instrument. Ano may sakto ka dyan si Jack? Okay? So inala ra ka sa June, dili siya struggle is real sa katong seryoso nga mo conduct of research. Let's go to the data collection method. This is the process of gathering and measuring information on variables of interest in an established systematic fashion that enable one to answer stated research questions, test hypotheses, and evaluate outcome. This according to most 2003, di ba? Sa data collections process, through interview, bang imo sa ako is through interview and questionnaires and surveys. Naman po yung uban nga mga research that they gather data through observations. They just have to observe without conducting any questions or documents and records method katong mga secondary method o katong mga focus groups na may mga focus groups discussions. So somewhat like kung na kay mga interview, nag-observe kanila, that you have to focus on this particular people, on this particular area na mga inana nga mga study. So that is why in the data collection method, all you have to do is you need to state the process on how you collect data, C to F, that particular data collection method, there is an effects that has been observed. Diba? Ethical ba ang process mo? Di ba ka nakandak na research because binayaran ka? Wa ba'y bias sa imong mga pamaagi? Or wa ba ka nagpasadyon in collecting your data? Basin o sa, for example, sa mga respondents, sa tanan rin mahinagbuan, kinira ang question notes, or ang aho na lamang mga family members, mga question notes, na mga inana ang mga tinapuan. So on that, what ni mo nakuha ang dapat ni mo nga makuha nga informations to answer your research. So, now example. In data collection method, prepare the questionnaires and explain its possible outcomes. Explain the process, your approach to your respondents, and how you end your data collection. So, mga taong giingon ganina. Ako naman itong Bisaya ang pagkuhan ninyo. Example, giunsa na pag-state ang ahong data collection method based on my study change management and employees' performance. Ingon ko dire. Before distributing the questionnaire to the sample, a request for permission from the head of the establishment and the concerned officials were made. Then the researchers themselves, together with the enumerator, distributed the questionnaire. Retrieval of the questionnaire was done after an hour from distribution before going to the other groups. Diba? Describe talaga kung ano ang ginagawa mo. In the qualitative method, since the study is a combination of quantity and quality, i-describe po paano mo kinuha yung data mo sa qualitative. In the qualitative method, the researchers will conduct an interview based on the guide and assure that the interview will last for only 30 minutes. It is a face-to-face, one-on-one interview, informal conversational interviewing, kumbaga. The aims of this approach is to ensure that each interview is presented with exactly the same questions in the same order so that accurate information will be gathered. The respondents were reminded that all data gathered will be treated with utmost confidentiality. So, di ba mas madali ra? Very easy ra because ilahad mo lang talaga yung process on how you conduct your data collections. So, asan struggle di ka?